All right. I've got another game that I want to share with you on a theme that I see mentioned a lot by grandmasters and masters, international masters. It's easy to talk about, but it's difficult to actually do. In this game, I was just determined to do this. Now, I might have done it on an extreme, but I just want to show you this game as an illustration that I recently had with Stockfish Level 4 that works. And no joke, it does work. So here we go. I'm going to show you a game that we played the Italian. The idea, of course, is to hit the F7 square next to the king here, right? So typical. Now this is the two knights defense, and I decided to play it quiet. I mean, this is part of the idea of the description of Gioco Piano, kind of a quiet positional play, right? If I had wanted to do a really serious, energetic play, the pawn, I would have put it to d4. The pawn takes pawn, the knight takes the pawn, and we would have went from there. We would have opened up files and all kinds of stuff, but I went for the quiet game here. And this is typical because he prevents a future fried liver attack because, of course, this is one of the keys in the Italian to bump the knight to here and then hit this weak square here. Get a good knight fork if you can on the queen and the rook. And I went ahead and castled. Really, you want to castle early before you begin to attack in the center because it's going to smack you if you don't. And so that's what you want to do without question. So I put my rook on the file, protecting my pawn. He fianchettos his bishop, which gives him a good diagonal. And now I chose to go ahead and bump the d4. And this is a good response from black. One of the options. This white squared bishop of white is really an important piece because of its touching, hitting, attacking that f7. So if black can get a chance to trade it off, that can be a good thing for black. And I thought, give it a shot. Let's just see what happens. I think the position is relatively clear. This pawn is available to me now that this knight moved out. See, without that knight move, he was guarding this pawn, so I wouldn't have made this kind of an attack. But now, when the king takes the bishop, I have a good follow-up, and I also have another good follow-up with the queen. I get my queen out. Let's see what happens. He, of course, takes, and I, of course, put him in check. He came straight across, so he can't castle. And I mean, I really have no basis for doing this at this point. And I only have one piece out, and he has three pieces out. So this is the downside of playing too early without development. So I realize, okay, I have to hustle, but there's a beautiful fork first. One, because of where he moved, usually the king will just either bump back here or here. But this gave me an option to do yet another fork and take the rook. And now puts the queen out of play, although it does give a good battery along the diagonal into the center with the queen and the bishop. So now I have nothing developed. And this is so wild because he's pretty much got full development, but I have a strong center. I shouldn't say nothing developed. I have good influence here and here directly in the center, right? So the best thing I can do, and yet again, and this is the irony, is I say time and again, develop, develop. You got to get your pieces out and all, and yet I continue pressing pawns and hitting the attacking moves. But the king is loose. He's kind of relatively in the open. There's nothing to hide behind anymore. I've shattered his kingside. I am up the exchange, and I'm up a couple of pawns. So, with this being said, you have to attack. You have to be merciless. You have to keep going. Use as many forcing moves as you can bring out. And so this was my thinking process at this point. Now that king is wide open. I can't resist it. Bring your queen out and hit the king. Check. And he comes out further. Of course, if he had come to here, I have this. And a beautiful fork to get the knight, right? So at this point, I realized, well, I have to keep checking him. I'm trying to drive the king to a dark square. He stays on a light square, so now I do a preparatory attacking move. Of course, the option is to take over the center. And this is the idea, or the file, I mean, because I own this file and I need to take this file, which the king is on. His knight is horrible. His other knight is horrible. His queen and bishop hit rock. So really, it's true I am underdeveloped. I mean, it's obvious. I am way underdeveloped, but his development is truly useless. He has literally no central influence, and I have it all. Totally, 100%, without question. So I'm feeling good at this point, even though I am underdeveloped. My position at this point is going to help me out enormously. So here comes the queen. Now, the question I ask myself is, this is an unprotected bishop, and I have to watch back rank checkmates, right? Because if the queen gets to here, a rook back isn't going to help me because the queen will just take the rook. A queen back to block the queen isn't going to help me. He'll just take the queen. So I have to keep my eye peeled for back rank checkmates. This is coming in. What do I do to prevent that? Nothing. I keep the initiative. Check. As long as I make it so that he doesn't have time to get his queen in, then I should be okay. And I'm feeling good about having a queen and a rook out and attacking. So the question is now, what kind of a follow-up can I have? Because, wow, it's almost as if I've got nothing now. So I'm looking at possible ways of combining the queen and the rook on a file, either this one or this one, preferably this one, this second one here, because this bishop can be a block between the queen and my attack. So I choose this one. And of course, I'm threatening here and then here. And if the king has to move back and the bishop has to move forward, then I can simply take the bishop and give a good mate. I mean, this is my thinking, all the while recognizing that this move gives him one reprieve move, because it's not a forcing move, but it is a preparatory move, getting ready to do several forcing moves in the up and coming brief moment. So, and sure enough, the queen takes the pawn. Now I'm looking at recognizing my queen is covering the bishop, but he's got this. It's checkmate, one move. It's checkmate, one move. So do I sacrifice my attack in order to defend? And so I sat here looking at it, calculating some ideas, getting some views in. And I was really wishing at this point that I was better developed. Sincerely. I need one more piece in, or do I? Check. I've got a forcing move. He comes to here. I have to let my king out. I'm going to sacrifice the bishop. Of course, he's not going to take the knight. No. But I do have to sacrifice the bishop because I really do have a good attack going here. I've got a way. So check, put the king up, and here we go. The rook is now gone also. However, I do want one more piece in this, and I'm going to choose my my idea. See, the knight supports the queen or the bishop. So yes, I've got a double attack here, but it's not going to be a checkmate. So I do need one more piece in here. And so here comes the knight. The queen's going to come up, and here comes the knight. I also get a tempo move on the queen. Woohoo! And now I think I'm going to be able to get him. And he sacrifices the queen for the rook. Rather than retake with the knight, I help centralize my king. And I'm on the attack, so I'm not worried about him attacking me. It doesn't matter at this point whether my king is exposed or not, because that's not the important issue. The important issue is how can I make it safe? Of course, he's going to attack the attacker, and I go check. He moved his king instead of taking the piece. If he would have taken with either the knight or the bishop, I was going to take it with the pawn. And you can see on this side, it's going to be a winnable endgame for me. I have the center controlled. From here, I've got the pawns. I can run them in. So I'm feeling pretty good about this. I was wondering which one he was going to take with, the knight or the bishop. Either way, it was going to work out, I felt. And so I took the knight, and he put the bishop there, and I went checkmate. So my point is, I lost at one point in the game, if I remember right. Yeah, he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces, and I had 2. Keep attacking no matter what was what I kept telling myself during this point. I mean, I had 3 pieces, and he literally had double my pieces, but my position was such that I didn't want to relinquish the attack. So that's what I was thinking. I was looking, counting, and I was going, holy mackerel, he is absolutely wiping me out material-wise. He had 4 pawns together for a huge end game. There's no way I'm going to win this if I begin to come back attacking him. Now, at this point, see, when he came up to here, he offered me the queen, right? But I want the king. So again, your opponents might even offer you incredibly huge material to get you to call off the fight so that they can develop more pieces and get them better shaped. Because in an endgame, if I get diverted, if I get persuaded to call off the attack, I don't have half the fire, or I literally have half the firepower, and I have half the pawn power. So that was why I decided ignore the queen. I have an attack going. Keep going. Get this third piece in. When he took the rook, I didn't freak out because I've studied enough of kingside attacks and how to coordinate the pieces that one of the very best pairs of fighting pieces there are is a queen and a knight on a kingside attack. It really does help to have a pawn. That's why I was hoping they were going to take this knight, either here or here. Because if I got a pawn to here, that also is really sweet with the king over here, because the queen here with the pawn here is instant checkmate. So I actually with a knight, a pawn, and a queen, this is a really good setup. So that was my thinking, and I thought, no, don't take it with the knight. Take it with the king, help centralize. In a bad case scenario, if I lose this knight and he does start getting this bishop out over here, I'm going to get my king up here too. And king and queen, when the king is in the corner, a king and a queen and a pawn is a pretty good combination, no kidding. So he's not going to get his king out of this corner with my queen on f7 like this. He's just not going to. He's not going anywhere. So that is part of my thinking, that I have a chance here. And then he attacks the knight, but it's okay because I was going to put the knight here anyway. I was going to directly exchange another defender deliberately to get the pawn in. I was hoping it was going to be the knight, because that's the more obvious choice, I think. So, but instead he moved. And I said, well, okay, then give me the knight with tempo. Now the bishop is no longer pinned, but he is now, and then checkmate. I mean, it's that simple. Simple, but spooky because of the nature of the setup. So anyway, there's the one win of 15 that I had this week. No, I think I bumped back up to level 4. I think I've got like 6 or 7 wins, not very many in relation to the number of plays, but at least I am able to gently, mildly compete on level 4, which is an improvement, because when I started this Odyssey, I couldn't beat level 3 at all, and now I can, and I'm going to level 4. So anyway, that hopefully that's a useful game to recognize sincerely that. And I am so materially minded in the chess game, because you really do have to pay attention. If and when you do get down material, that can really cost you the game if your position is not really, really good. And so I activated my pieces. I tried to keep an active position. I tried to put my pieces on active squares, and I had the center. That is why I chose to ignore my opponent's threats. And I do mean literally ignore them to the point of close to utter and absolute annihilation. He had double the amount of pieces. But if they're misplaced like that, then carry on with your attack. So I hope that's a good illustration for you. That's what I've got for you today. Thanks for watching my videos. Hit the like and subscribe and hit the notification button. I've got a lot more of these little jewels coming out. Thanks again. Have a great day, and I will see you next time.